This is a quick introduction on how to create a simulation competition. Now when your students first join GoVenture, you'll see a big play button. However, you cannot actually play a simulation competition until you, the instructor or simulation manager, have created one and then invited students to play. You can also play on your own to test a simulation before you give it to students. So to create a simulation competition, we click the Create button. Keep in mind that students do not have these options to create a competition and to manage competitions. That's only available to instructors. When we click the Create button, we have three options. We can choose a Quick Start simulation, which is a pre-existing simulation competition that we've already created for you, and there's a few dozen to choose from. You can also customize a Quick Start. You can choose a completely custom simulation where you're starting from scratch, a blank slate that you can build in any way that you like. Or you can choose to copy a pre-existing simulation competition that you've already used before. Now if this is your first time using GoVenture, you won't be able to use the copy feature, but once you've run one or more simulation competitions, you'll be able to copy them and reuse them over and over again. Let's choose a Quick Start. Here we can see a number of different simulations that we've created for you that you can choose, and by choosing a Quick Start you can be up and running in a matter of minutes. And it's good to read the description of each simulation because some of them are much more advanced than others. Some have modules turned on, some have modules turned off, and so on. Let's choose the smartphone manufacturer. This takes us to the design interface, and here we can design our simulation competition before we actually create it and invite students to play. To design it, we look at all of these business modules that are shown in green and gray and sometimes red. A green module means the decisions and the settings for that module have already been made and they're ready to go. Now you can still change them and customize them if you prefer, but green means they're ready to go and you don't have to spend any time on them if you don't want to. The gray or red means you do have to make some quick decisions before you can actually create your competition. For example, let's choose currency. I can see that in this simulation, the currency name is in dollars and the symbol is the dollar symbol. If I want to change that to euros, I simply type in euros, I copy the euro symbol from here, and I enter it and I click Save. And it's as easy as that. The currency is now changed. And I can repeat that process for any of the modules. Some modules, of course, are much more involved than the one we've just seen here. Let's go back to currency for a moment. When you do change a setting, make sure you click Save if you want those changes to stick. Otherwise, you can just cancel them. Every module has a Show Me link. And what this does is it brings up a little graphic that shows you where that setting is in the actual simulation competition. So essentially, it's what students are going to see and how this affects the simulation. So it's a nice visual way. So I can see currency, if I click on the management screen, for example, is shown in these locations. All right. Now, once we've completed all the modules and they've turned green, there's two things we should do. One issue, we should monitor this chart of numbers and finances to make sure everything is adding up properly. And by this we mean make sure that this is a simulation that meets your objectives in terms of profitability for the students who are playing it. So you probably don't want a simulation where it's going to be very difficult to generate a profit and everyone is going to generate losses. That could still happen depending on the decisions that the students make in the simulation. But generally you want to balance it out relatively well. And this table will give you some insight into your numbers. The second thing you'll want to do, and now you don't see this right now, but you'll see a test button. So once all the modules are green and ready to go, you'll see a test button appear here. If you click the test button, what it allows you to do is monitor the simulation that you're about to create. So you can see the simulation, you can navigate from screen to screen and see all the settings that you've set to make sure you're happy with them. If you're not happy with them, you quit the monitor mode, come back here, change any of the settings that you want, and then monitor it again until you're happy. Once you're happy, you can then click the Create button. When you click the Create button, the system is going to generate one or more simulation numbers. The simulation numbers are what connects students to you. So you have to give that number to your students and invite them to come play GoVenture Any Businesss. That number connects students to you and your course as opposed to some other instructor or simulation manager in the world who may be running a different competition. And keep in mind, students cannot play GoVenture until you give them a simulation number. Now, once you have your simulation number, you can actually play that simulation yourself to test it out and see what it's going to be like for students. So we talked about the monitor mode a moment ago. The monitor mode only allows you to see the interface and the settings. It doesn't allow you to actually play the simulation. If you want to play the simulation, you have to create one for yourself and then click the play button and join the simulation that you've just created for yourself. When you're creating a simulation that you just want to play on your own for testing purposes, make sure you turn on the computer competitors. Let's go back and have a quick look at that. And then notice, by the way, now that I'm going back to the design screen, I have this fourth option, which is continue working on my draft. So if you have not created your competition yet and generated the simulation numbers, you can continue working on it as a draft and come back to it over days or weeks until you're happy with it. And then when you create it and it generates your simulation numbers, you'll no longer have a draft option here. You can only have one draft active at the same time, and once that draft converts into a real simulation, it's no longer a draft. But let's go back to the draft we were working on. And what I was mentioning is, if you want to create a competition and play it on your own for testing purposes, then make sure that you set the computer run business module, which is this one here. Make sure you turn on the computer players and read a little bit about them here. And when you go to the time advance setting, you can set it for you to advance on your own by clicking a button or on a set schedule. And the benefit here is you can test the simulation completely from start to finish if you like before students join it, and then if you're happy with it, then you can come back, use the create button and create a copy of it, and then adjust the settings for your students, and away you go. Well, we hope you found this video helpful.